there. Hi, and how are you doing? I'm Brother and Pastor David Charles Ross of Bethel Fellowship of Christian Brethren. We are a light that shines in darkness church. And we're going to be talking today about dreaming. You know, dreaming. You dream and I dream. Everybody dreams. And oftentimes we don't know why dream. Well, the Bible says, coming from Job, the 33rd chapter, that God speaks to us not only once but twice through dreaming, but we don't perceive it. We don't know that it's Him speaking to us. The Bible says to keep our souls from destruction. And most of the dreams that we're going to be reviewing tonight are going to be about Jesus. These folks have had encounters with Jesus, and they're going to be sharing to you what Jesus said to them and how much it meant to them, what Jesus wanted them to know. And perhaps you've been spoken to by the Lord in your dream. What was it that He said to you? Did he give you a message not only for yourself, but did He send you to us with a message? Dreaming and Jesus in our dreams is what we're talking about. Let's first listen to this dream by my uncle, my mother's youngest brother, and the church brother, Curtis Barnett.
Hi, my name is Curtis Barnett. I am uncle to Pastor David Charles Ross and the pianist, musician, Crystal Walters. Bear with me, I'm a little shy, but I did have a dream. I had a dream many years ago when they were younger. My sister, Dorothy Ross, my sister, I just had a dream, and the dream was they went on a vacation. Her and her family were about to go on vacation to Niagara Falls. I didn't know this, but I had a dream, I'd say within the week before they were going to go. And in the dream, it didn't pan out well. And certain members went over the falls. So you can imagine how that was. And I woke up stirred up and worried. I said to myself, I got to call Dorothy, tell her the dream I had. Because she, at the time also, with certain dreams, she would, she had that gift also of analyzing dreams. And I told her, and she listened to the whole thing without saying a word. She listened to my dream without saying anything. And when I finished, she said, Curtis, we're about to go to Niagara Falls this week, within the upcoming days. And it sort of alarmed me, and she's looking, she says, we're not going now. And so the kids are going to be very upset over it. But we're not going now because you had no idea that we're going on this vacation. You had no idea where we were going. But you were able to say it was Niagara Falls. And I don't know, I don't think my nephews and niece were happy with me that week. But I spoiled the fun, but that was my dream.
Wow, that was some dream, huh? Isn't it interesting what people have to say? Let's keep on listening.
Praise God. I had a dream about 4 months ago. And in this dream, I was standing off, but I could look and see a man dressed in white. Everything he had on was white. His suit was white, shirt was white, even his shoes were white. And he was standing beside this high mountain. And I could see the clouds. And the clouds were so white and so beautiful. It was as if it was the most beautiful place that I've ever seen. And that's what I noticed about it, the place that it was, the beauty of it, the peacefulness of it. It just was like a glorious place that you've never seen before, and a peaceful place that you've never seen before. And it, like I said, the dream was not long. It was a short dream, but it was such a beautiful sight. It was a place as if you would desire that peace and that beauty of it. And that was the end of it. I saw him standing there, and that was the end of that dream. It was a short dream, but it was a clear one. Praise God. Praise God.
Hi, I'm Random Allen Ross, and I have a dream I would like to share with you. It's not a long dream, but it's pretty nice. I had this dream once. I was working at this particular place, and I had this dream. The Lord came to me in my dream and, delivered me from my epilepsy that I acquired from my accident. And I was so touched that I cried. I told you it wasn't all that long.
Isn't it something? How God comes in people's dreams like this? Has he come in your dreams and told you something? It's amazing, isn't it, to try to understand this language of the Lord is dreaming. Let's hear what you've got to say. Let's listen to more.
Hey, my name's Brandon Thornton. Guess I'm going to tell you a dream I had when I was like a really little kid. I don't remember how old I was, but I was pretty young. In the dream, me and like two of my siblings were playing in the front room where the fireplace was. There was like a knick-knack thing of Jesus on it somewhere. And out of nowhere at some point in the dream, this like big, weird, like, I guess it was like a castle, sort of. It was made of gold in it. And I remember we walked into it and we were like all hopping around like, oh, what is this? And running around, doing all that stuff. And then like the knick-knack of Jesus came to life. And he was standing in there with us. And I remember I ran over to him and hugged him. I remember that. That sounds like a dream a little kid would have. It was. That's it. Okay.
Hi, my name is Sister Karen, and I'm one of the members in the Church of Bethel Fellowship. And I just want to tell you of the many dreams, of vision dreams that God had given me. One of them is how I met Jesus in the dream. In the dream, that dream that I had, me and my little sister was in our room playing games, and that while our mom called us to come down the stairs, and we told her we'd be down in a minute, we want to see Jesus. Soon as we told her that, Jesus appeared right there in the room. It was a bright light, and it was him, all right, because me and my sister was just excited to see him. I had a lot of tears in my eyes. He gave us a hug, a big old hug to see him, and then he just disappeared after that. So we ran down the stairs to tell our family, and our church family was down there too. So all of us was in the living room. Jesus appeared again in the living room, gave all of us a hug again too. Same thing, it was a bright light all over, and he disappeared again. He only been there for a few seconds, and he was gone. So I went outside, and when I looked outside, there was a flood all over the place out there. And that So I looked up in the sky. There I saw there was a sun. It was bright, but it had exploded though. Exploded. And how it exploded, it turned into a cross. The cross was bright too, but it had stars circling and swirling all around it, this cross and everything. So I was like, wow, that was a nice, wow, amazing to see that. When I saw that, all the flood and water was gone. It was gone. So I just went back in the house and everything. Everybody was like, excited and everything and happy to see Jesus too. And I'm sorry that I couldn't make it a long dream, but it was a short dream that God gave me of that vision and dream. So I was happy to see that vision and dream that God gave me. So hopefully I'll see y'all again to tell you more. And then the next time you see me, you see me do gospel signing for you. So I love y'all. God bless y'all, and y'all have a blessed day.
That was a very interesting dream. Very, very interesting. Let's listen to some other dreams.
Hi, my name is Crystal Ross Walters, and I'd like to recount a dream that I had when I was around 5 years old. At that time in my life, I don't know if it was because of an overactive imagination or something, but I was plagued by nightmares. I would always call my mom in my room, "Mom, I'm scared, I had another nightmare." And one recurring nightmare was one where I had the sensation of floating sort of above the city. It was always in the same area of my neighborhood where I would be floating. And this particular time, and it would strike terror in me. It felt like if you're on a really high roller coaster and you're about to fall, that feeling of the pit in the pit of your stomach, and the falling sensation was just, sometimes it would just like rouse me awake. So I had that falling sensation this particular dream, but instead of falling, I saw, and I had this knowing that it was Jesus, and his robe was just never ending, the height of it. And I didn't see his face, but I sort of saw the bottom, sort of like his beard, like his chin. And I started to fall, and he caught me in his arms, and a feeling of peace just overwhelmed me, and I just felt very peaceful, restful, just like I wanted to fall asleep in his arms. And when I awakened, I told my mom, and she said, "Hey, that dream is symbolizing really throughout your life, you're going to have feelings of being out of control, of falling, of impending doom, things that you feel like you can't control. And you need to know that he's going to always have you in his arms." And I grabbed hold of that, and from that moment on, I never had nightmares. And so that dream was very special to me, that dream of seeing Jesus and him catching me and holding me and keeping me safe in his arms.
My name is Kaya Thornton. The Lord took me to the bottom of the sea and showed me hell. I saw these beings sitting about a yard away from each other, and they were chained by their hands. And I saw the chains floating in the water, and their skin looked like a brown sponge, and their teeth were gritted, and bubbles were coming out of their teeth like they're in a great deal of pain. And I asked the Lord, well, I didn't ask the Lord, he just told me. He said, these are people that died at sea, and at first they didn't know they died. They just floated to the bottom, but eventually they realized they're dead. And I believe that's it. It was a short dream.
Very interesting. These dreams are getting very, very interesting. Let's listen to some more.
Hello, my name is Michael Ross, and I wanted to share a dream that I had probably about 2 years ago concerning my mom. My mom passed away about 5 years ago, and I would say my prayers at night, and I would say to the Lord, tell my mom that I love her. And I remember having a dream where I walked into the room and my mom was standing there. And it's probably one of the most realistic dreams I've ever had. To this day, I feel as though I was able to see my mother again in that dream. And I said to her, I said, Mother, I said, does Jesus tell you that I said I love you? And she said, yes, he did. And I asked her another question. I said, is love in heaven the same way it is on earth? And she says it is, but there is no pain that goes with it. And I loved that answer. And then, trying to get more out of my mom, which I always did even when she was here with me, I said, tell me about heaven. So my mom proceeded to move her lips, and she was speaking, but I couldn't hear a word she was saying. So that told me it wasn't time for me to know those things. And shortly after that, I woke up, and I thanked the Lord for the dream, because I truly felt as though he gave me an opportunity to speak to my mom again. And I truly believe that's what he did. Very beautiful dream, and I will never forget it.
My name is Deborah Gamble. I'm going to tell you about some dreams. I've been having dreams of Jesus since I was a little girl. I had a dream of Jesus a while ago. And in this dream, I saw Jesus in the heavens. He was moving around and about. I could see him. And it was like I was sitting there or standing there looking upwards. Somehow, some way, I was looking upwards. And as I was looking upwards, I could see his feet. And somehow I saw his feet, and I knew that his feet had holes. His feet were pierced. I saw his feet. I saw his hands. And I could see that he was moving, and he was working. He was busy working and moving. I don't know what he was doing. And when I saw him, he was spiritual looking. He wasn't any kind of color. He was spiritual looking, almost like a mist. But I knew it was Jesus, our Lord and Savior. And I could see other activities, but I couldn't make out what they were. But something was going on up there where the Lord and Savior was. And it was like an outline of him in a mist. And I also saw clouds. These clouds were scrolling. The clouds were scrolling. There were symbols. I can't explain the symbols that I was seeing, but I saw symbols. I also saw words, and I was trying to make out the words that I was seeing, but I couldn't make the words out. So I managed to see one word, just one word, and that word was hope. The clouds were puffy clouds. I saw the word hope, and seeing that word made me feel hopeful. There was a message there, and I knew, although I couldn't see all the words that were passing in this scroll, I knew in my heart that they were glorifying God. These words were for the glory of God. And I saw Jesus just moving about with all these things going on. Much activity was happening, but I couldn't begin to tell you what these activities were. And that was my dream.
What can I tell you? Isn't it amazing how God is dealing with people, what he's saying to them through dreaming? And I'm very intrigued by what I'm hearing, to keep trying to understand dreaming. Let's just continue listening, because there's nothing really I could say. I mean, the dreams are speaking for themselves. Let's listen in, continue what people have to say.
Again, my name is Curtis Barnett. I'm uncle to Pastor David Ross and Ross children, and Randy and Crystal. I'm their uncle. Sister to former pastor Dorothy Ross, my sister. They forced me to tell you another dream, but I'm going to tell it. It's not a happy dream. I'll tell it. I had a dream on a Friday night, because I remember I had to go to work Saturday the next morning. And the dream, I was alone walking a long street, longer than any Erie street. It was very long blocks. And it didn't have any people. It wasn't inhabited. And I'm walking alone in these long streets. But then when people did show up, it was only firemen and policemen. And they had a taped off area, and there was a skyscraper. And you could see the flames coming out of the skyscraper. And so, I was nosy, and I wanted to go beyond the tape to get closer where the police, the firemen were tending to this fire, this house burning, building burning rather. And they stopped me at the tape and said, "Get back, don't come any further." And when they turned their head, I went further, I went beyond, right up on it with the fireman. And I'm looking at this, and the fireman says, "There's 85 so far that were dead in this fire." And so I woke up, and I woke up like knowing that this is going to happen. And I had to go to work that Saturday. So I went to work, and I was working with this guy named Greg. And I told him about the dream, and he had seen where I had dreams, other dreams I had said came true. And so he was in the mode of, "Hey, where's it going to be, Kurt? Where's this fire? And we were trying to figure out where this fire would be. And couldn't figure it. And I went home, and then I got with a mother figure in my life, and she had seen dreams that came true that I had said. And so she was the same attitude, well, where's it going to be? We're all trying to figure out, where's this going to be? And we couldn't figure out. That was that Saturday. So Sunday, I more or less got into my day not thinking much of it. And that Sunday night, it happened. And it happened in New York City. And it was a well-known fire. It ended up being famous, or better yet, maybe I should say infamous. It was called the Happy Land fire. So it's named. And it was a speakeasy, like a social club, speakeasy in New York. And I don't know. They said it was intentional. But 87 people died. And I'm trying to think. The motherly figure, she called me, says, "Kurt, it's happening." So I cut the TV on, and there it was, Sunday night, this fire that killed 87 people. But now it's a famous known fire. The actress, Kathleen Turner, it was her husband that owned the building. And there it was, and they were like, coming to me, but I don't have the ability to predict dreams or, no dreams like my nephew, the pastor, has done many times. But it was just one of those things. I don't know how to say, was it spiritual or was it God-given? there was those that have said it, God gave me, and you know, I don't know. I know it wasn't a happy ending, and that's why I was sort of pressured to tell you this last dream. Thanks for your time.
Hello, my name is Lydia Thornton. I had a dream that I heard a voice in my dream say, Jesus Christ is about to visit the earth. And then when I heard that, I wanted to see him. So I found myself over in the Middle Eastern part of the world. I knew I was in the Middle Eastern part of the world because of the way they were dressed, and that's all I can say about that. But when I got there, it was a big crowd of people. And I remember telling myself, well, I won't be able to see him because the crowd is just too big. As soon as I said that, Jesus Christ steps out of that crowd. He's standing right over me, looking down at me. He was looking down at me, and I'm looking up at him. And he shocked me because he just shocked me. He came out of the crowd. As soon as I said that, he steps out of the crowd, and he kind of surprised me. So we're just like, I'm staring up at him, and he's just staring down at me. And we never said a word to each other. We're just staring at each other. Now, I didn't know it was Jesus Christ because when I was looking at him, he did not have a beard and a mustache. So in my mind, I thought, well, maybe this isn't Jesus Christ. He doesn't have a beard and he doesn't have a mustache. And most of the pictures of men who portray Jesus Christ here on earth, they have a beard and they have a mustache. So that was kind of throwing me off. I just thought, well, maybe this isn't him. So we just continued to kind of glare at each other. He was kind of moved his head side to side, looking at me, like looking down at me, moving his head around. He never still said a word. And so then I started noticing his features. He had small little eyes. His eyes were small and very small. And they were so small, I didn't even see no white in his eyes. That's how small his eyes were. And they looked like pools of water. They were light blue in color, and they looked like pools of water. And I noticed that. Then I noticed his mouth was kind of puged up, and it was also very small. And then I started to notice his face shape. Now, the best I can describe his face shape was, his face was shaped like a planter's peanut shell. That's the best I can describe it. It wasn't like a planter's peanut shell, but that's kind of the best shape I can describe it to. Like it was sort of like that, sort of. And so that was throwing me off. And so when I saw that, my mind and my dream went to my pastor. He always said that he wasn't much to look upon. So in my head, in my dream, when I saw that, I said, well, my pastor said he wasn't much to look upon. I mean, because most of the pictures that portray Jesus down here, you might see him looking kind of handsome, and the man that's portraying him is looking kind of nice and everything. Well, my pastor always said he wasn't much to look upon. So that's what I thought of in the dream. And so then, after I noticed his face, I started to notice something on his face. And he started to look like the moon to me. I mean, that's the way his color looked. He looked bright like the moon. Now I say the moon because in my dream, that's what I thought he looked like. He came in like the brightness of the moon. And so I kept looking at his face, and all of a sudden I noticed there was things on his face. And as I kept looking, they came into view, and it was scars. He had all kinds of scars on his face. It was big scars, little scars, medium-sized scars. His entire face was covered with scars. And at that point, I realized I was looking at Jesus Christ. It was so many scars they couldn't be counted. And he was just letting me look at them. And at that point, every scar on his face was lit up with a tinge of light. Sort of like the moon. Like if you see the moon at night, it's really bright, but you can see the craters on it. They're like lighter than the moon or something. The craters are kind of lighter. And you'll notice you'll see the craters on the moon because they just shine a little bit brighter than even the moon. Well, that's what his face was looking like. It looked like the moon, and every scar on his face was a little lighter. It was shining, but they were like covering his entire face. And so at that point, I held my head down and I started to cry. And in my dream, I was crying really hard, and I held my head down. I couldn't look at him anymore, and I realized I was looking at Jesus Christ. And so then he touched my shoulder and he touched my back, and I woke up out of the dream. So I told my pastor about the dream, and he explained to me that Jesus brought his lightness down to the brightness of the moon so that I could look upon him. Because if he would have came and had his lightness like the sun that shines in the daylight, I wouldn't have been able to look at him, because of course you can't look at the sun, is too bright and you can't look at it. So he brought his glory down to the brightness of the moon so I would be able to look upon him. And he also shaved his face so that I'd be able to see him and see his scars and everything. And so that's why he brought his glory down to the brightness of the moon. And so that dream touched me for like weeks. I think it was like even months. I kept thinking about that dream, and every time I thought about the dream, I started choking up and crying, because it kind of like affected me in that way. But it was a really powerful dream, and I don't know why he, came in my dream and showed me himself like that and shaved his face so that I could see all that. But that's what he did, and that dream touched me, and I was glad to share it with you. And yeah, that was my dream.
I'm going to tell you the dream that I had when I was 28 years old. The things that Jesus said to me that changed my life forever. Never again did I approach life the same way again after the dream encounter that I had with Jesus. I can tell you this, that I've been at his feet, and I'm going to share with you what he said to me. Now that the others have told their dreams, I'll tell mine. The dream encounter that I had with Jesus Christ when I was just 28 years old, I'll never forget it. I fell into a deep sleep one night. In that sleep, I woke up in a place that was not earth. And I was like a fish out of water. I was face down, lying on top of clouds as far as the eye could see. And at the base of my chin, I saw these feet, these perfectly aligned feet. I never fully lifted my head up because I was afraid. These feet were light olive colored, and the toenails were beautifully manicured. And I had an inner knowing of who this was that I was at the feet of. For this person was seated on a throne, and even though my face was in the cloud and I saw the feet, I wouldn't look up. Even though I knew that I had a sense of knowing that above my head, the knees were there. I wouldn't look up because I was afraid. But I could feel the breath of this person on the back of my neck. And I wouldn't look up. It was real quiet in this place where I was. I call it the cloud room. And even though my head was raised only about an inch high from the feet as my face was down, I wanted to leave out of this place. I wanted to go back to where I had come from, which was at home in my bed. And it was just then that I heard this voice call to me. I'll never forget it. David. David, the voice said. I didn't answer a word. David. And here is what the Lord said to me. How many times do I have to tell you that it is my desire that you climb higher and higher in me, and that you go deeper and deeper in me? And that is what the Lord said to me in my heaven dream when I was 28 years old. At that, I sunk my head back into the clouds. I never did look up to see his face. I didn't want to, as I felt like I would die if I looked into the face of the Lord. So I buried my face back down into the clouds. And suddenly, I awakened to find that I was at home again, back in my bed. I was stunned because I knew that I had been in the presence of the Lord, and he stated to me his desire for me. And I learned that night that I didn't have to wake up to see another day. God gave me a chance to climb higher and higher in him, and to go deeper and deeper in him, in his depths. And there's something I learned from my heaven encounter with Christ Jesus. And that is this: dreaming is God's way, one of God's ways of talking to us. It's said that he can get more done with us asleep than when we're awake, because when we're awake, we don't have time for him. If the Lord gives you a short dream, he'll put within the short dream symbols. And those symbols in the short dream will allow you to interpret what the dream means. If it's a long, drawn-out dream, slice the dream into segments and look for the symbols in the segments. The symbols, what they mean, and try to interpret and understand the dream from that, is what I give you this day on dreaming.